A group of scholars who collect obscure objects of curious origin and historical significance call themselves the Cognoscenti Esoterica. They recently spent a small fortune acquiring a painting, which is rumored to have occult properties and magic, most likely. Along with studying it, they also plan to host a debate over the cultural significance. The day after the debate was announced, a small team of Agile Hand thieves raided the vaults, killed 3 guards, and fled with the painting. Fortunately, the guards were able to capture a lookout that was working with the thieves, and the captee is willing to trade information for his freedom. Is your party brave enough to break into the Agile Hands Guild house, find the painting, and return it to the Cognoscenti Esoterica? I'm John, and you're watching Dragons and Flagons. Masterpiece Imbroglio is a 5th level adventure in the anthology book Keys from the Golden Vault. If you're planning on running this adventure in the future, or want to read it yourself, or think knowing anything about the story in advance will spoil your experience with this adventure in any way, back out now. I'm going to be digging deep into this adventure, not only to help Dungeon Masters prepare, but also to provide an overview and my thoughts to help you determine if you really want to play this game with your party. This adventure definitely sets a vibe right from the beginning. Whether you're using the Golden Vault as a patron or some other hook, your players need to meet an NPC named Idrisa. Idrisa doesn't play a huge role anywhere else in the adventure, but it really does get the ball started, gets everything going. It explains that the rain begins to fall as your coach pulls up beside a barn that is surrounded by fields of dead corn. A tall, well-dressed human woman emerges from the barn as you exit the coach. This is Idrisa. She greets you and lets you know about the painting and offers you 2,000 gold to get it back, and escorts you into the barn and out of the rain. Once inside, you see a scrawny human male gagged and tied to a chair. His name is Grinky, and he's the lookout that was captured during the theft. This is also the person that's going to tell you everything that you need to know to begin your planning of a heist, because this is Keys of the Golden Vault, and this is a heist adventure. Between Grinky and Idrisa, you learn that the leader of the Agile Hand is Guildmaster Dusk. Guildmaster Dusk is a trained assassin with powerful political connections. She uses blackmail and extortion to keep her enemies at bay. Grinky explains that the windows to the guild house are boarded up and the doors are usually locked. There are 3 master keys, at least 3 master keys, that will open up any door found within the house. Guildmaster Dusk has one. Alex the Saint and Jaymont the Sinner, 2 other NPCs that might become important to you. They also have keys. Most evenings, Alex the Saint frequents a seedy tavern called the Tipsy Tankard. That's your hint, players, to get in and be able to get that key so you can get in and out without being caught. As for the location of the painting, Grinky doesn't really know. He's pretty unsure whether or not it's either in Guildmaster Dusk's quarters or on the second, which is on the 2nd floor, or it could be in the basement where new members are trained. Grinky is able to provide a hand-drawn map that, of course, has inaccuracies on it. Otherwise, what type of game would this be? But it allows enough information for the characters to start planning out their heist. Give them a little chance to look at the map, understand what's going on, maybe even ask questions of Grinky himself. The guild house in this adventure has a lot of rooms. 37 numbered areas are on this map. Rather than me going through room by room and explaining that G11 is the kitchen and you can find food in here, but nothing of value, I'm not going to really go into details along those lines, but I'm going to break it into chunks that I found useful while reading through and planning and preparing for this adventure. We're going to separate this into kind of the East House and the West House, and then the floors that go up and down. There are 3 floors, as well as a stable on the side. I'll mold that stable into that East House. But that kind of gives you an overview of where we're going with this. Getting into the house itself, there is a front and a back entrance, both of which are guarded by a person on a balcony, a bandit on the balcony. There's the front porch, which there's a sign, private property, no trespassing sign. And on the 2nd floor balcony is a bandit that looks down. I'll give you a warning shot as well as a, hey, get out of here. If you don't listen, it'll put the guild on high alert. Same with the back entrance. There's a bandit standing on top of that, watching for trouble from the north and the west. If she sees something suspicious or threatening, she will shout enough to put the whole guild house on high alert. The east house has a main floor and an upper floor, as well as a basement. The primary focus of at least the main house's main floor and upper floor, this east house's main floor and upper floor, is sleeping quarters, guests, things along those lines, as well as the stables that are off to the side. The stables has a stable hand in it named Needly Pitts, who's sleeping in the hayloft. There's a bunch of horses. If the horses get too disrupted by you, Needly will wake up. If he sees you, he'll bang on a pot and wait for the stable master to come out and help. Otherwise, Needly really doesn't do much for it other than it's just another obstacle for you to get around. In the actual house itself, which is attached to the stable, the main floor is really like a reception area, some steps. There's a secret room in here that leads to the basement. So if your players aren't necessarily looking for that, you may never make it to the basement. Going up the steps, there is a person that's sleeping on them, or at least pretending to. That's Jaymont the Sinner. Jaymont's a doppelganger, disguised as a drunken guest. He allows people to pass and avoids fights that he knows he can't win, but will notify other people, people on the second floor as well as people in other areas of the house, will notify them quickly that, hey, there's some intruders in here and you should be on guard. Other than Jaymont sleeping on the steps and a few people sleeping upstairs, there's really not much going on downstairs. Once you do get upstairs, though, there's other sleeping quarters and what have you, but there's also the mini boss fight, I guess is the best way to put it. This is where you can meet an NPC named Gwish. Gwish is an Oni, also has messenger pigeons, but they're actually ravens, and controls them using a ring of animal control or animal influence. The most important part about Gwish is that Gwish has a master key, which is great. Gwish has a note in the room that was attached to one of the ravens to be sent out that is actually a note to Guildmaster Dusk, saying that the painting is in danger and to be on high alert. So getting in there and stopping Gwish right out of the gate is probably a good thing to do, but not necessarily necessary, if that's a good sentence. I don't know. It's not required for this. You could skip all of this East House stuff and be fine. Actually, they do give you an out early on. The stable is filled with horse manure and flammable items. If you catch fire to the stable within a minute or so, the entire East House as well as the stables burn up into nothing. It does put the whole house on high alert, obviously, but maybe could cause enough distraction that you could get into the West House to do the important parts of this mission. But Gwish is a fun, or could be potentially a fun encounter. Gwish will not just immediately attack. We'll say, get out of my room if you enter in. If you ignore it or say no or something, calmly, patiently, Gwish will let his birds go and then turn, pick up the weapon, and then attack. Just confidence is oozing out of this individual. And that's how I think you should play this character. Have fun with this fight. It's an Oni. You don't always get to fight Onis on a regular, or at least I don't get to fight Onis on a regular basis, so it'd be a fun little thing. There's also some hintings that Gwish is eating townspeople of some sort, at least unconscious people, and there are bones scattered throughout the room and on Gwish's bed. So play it up, ham it up a bit. On the west side of the house, the main floor, this portion of the guild house consists of like a conference room, the main hall, kitchen, parlor, those type of things. It's more of a formal or living quarters, not necessarily sleeping quarters for guests, and definitely not stables. The back door entrance to this side of the house is trapped. There's a poison gas, so if you turn the knob the wrong way, gas is going to come out. It's also nailed shut from the inside, so if you have to break in, you're going to cause a lot of ruckus and notify everyone, and the guild house will go on high alert. Within this main area, this main floor, there's a parlor. There are 4 guild members who have been drinking and playing cards, probably Magic the Gathering. It's a Wizard's product. But they're playing cards in here, and 3 of which are passed out. They have the Thug stat block. But the 4th one, who has a Gladiator stat block, giving you a fun, nice encounter, is wide awake, is drunk, so it has the poison condition, but is looking and ready for a fight. If you knock or hit or splash water on any of the three others, they will wake up and join the fight. But you could just have a nice little gladiator fight in here. There are steps leading up to the next floor, giving you the second floor where there's a south balcony. The south balcony is where the bandit stands on top and watches for trouble coming from the south and the east. If she sees anything suspicious or threatening, she puts the house on high alert. There's a shared bedroom with 2 sleeping thugs in there. But the more important areas of this second floor of this west room is Elix the Saint, maybe the person that you stole the key from originally in the tavern or the bar at the very beginning, maybe even disposed of the body. Elix the Saint's workroom is in here. In that workroom, it's basically where all the stolen goods are stored, and a ledger saying here's all my stuff in Elix's office as well, which is right next door to the workroom. In the workroom, you'll see a necklace of prayer beads, nice magical item that you could pick up, but there's no one else in here. In the office across the hall from Elix's workroom, there's a desk with a ledger and all of the things that are written in there. The painting is not in this ledger. More importantly, within this office area, there is an armed guard standing at another door that leads into Guildmaster Dusk's room. This could cause potential problems. Hopefully by now the players are getting pretty stealthy and can slip in, maybe knock this guard out, kill the guard, just not alerting anyone on the other side of the door. The name of the game of this is stealth. Otherwise, you've just got a bunch of guild members that are just going to come flooding out and attacking. And some of them are quite formidable. If you get through that door into Guildmaster Dusk's room, you do have her room. Ultimately, her quarters, she's sleeping, and she is sleeping with her lover in that room. They're sound asleep. Her lover's name is D'Artanel, I think. It's not mentioned anywhere else, doesn't have a stat block or anything, just gives a name to this individual for whatever reason. Within this room, basically there's a bunch of weapons, and they are ready to fight if they wake up. But if you can slip in, maybe knock them out, poison them, do whatever you need to do, it could be an easy main boss fight, and then you can go upstairs from there. It's all within the tower in that west house, where you would find the painting. In the 3rd floor of the tower, the painting will attack you, has spells. Throw a blanket over the painting and it stops attacking. And also, if you detach it from the wall, gas will start coming out. So there will be some ability checks and some looking around. If your players are in a hurry because people are running around and there's high alerts or what have you, it could cause some problems as soon as you start pulling the painting off the wall and then gas starts spilling into the room. Also, the painting is attuned. It's an attuned magical item, and it's attuned to the Guildmaster, so it doesn't want to leave. So extra complications happen there. But this is really the only time the painting comes into play in this entire story, is when you get to the painting itself, and hopefully you're on your way out the door. You can ham it up a little bit here. You can really try to add some extra oomph to this painting, but it's not giving you much. So my suggestion would be, make this painting really not want to go. Scream, shout, whatever it needs to do. Maybe some arrogant voice, no, don't take me. Something along those lines. I don't know. Figure it out. Or let me know. Maybe there's a better idea. I'd love it. The only other areas in here, because that really is the 2 main parts of the house and the end of the adventure, are the basements. On the east side of the house, there's a secret door to get into the basement. If you don't find the secret door, you're never going to get down here. But the secret areas in the basement is basically the training room. So you kind of I got the X-Men War Room or Danger Room vibes, where there's a bunch of different little settings and areas, and you kind of go through and it helps you train as a guild member, which is kind of fun. It's actually really neat to kind of go through and have a little mini adventure in this. I wouldn't add any sounds or anything along those lines triggering problems throughout the house. Let your players just kind of enjoy and experience this without having to be too quiet. On the other side, on the west side of the house, in the basement there, the only way to find your way in here is either through a secret passageway in the basement itself or underneath a chair in the parlor where you had the drunken fight. So if you do have a little exploration time down there, maybe they'll find their way to the basement. Within this part of the basement, it's really just storage rooms and there's some jail cells. They don't have any people down here or anything along those lines, so maybe you can hide people down there, like maybe bodies or something if you find it and you need to remove people. But there's really no point to this area other than to give you more exploration. Beyond all of that, that pretty much sums up really high level, obviously, walking through it without going room by room, but really there's not much else going on here. What makes this adventure, well, let me back up for a second. This adventure is a lot of fun. I had fun reading through it. I had fun preparing for it. And I even did a little solo play to get a good understanding of what to do with this adventure and how it could be played. It is fun. But more importantly, at least for me with this adventure, is not necessarily how this adventure is structured, but they give you, Wizards kindly has now provided me a really well thought out guild house that you can use in any town, in any adventure, whenever you want. You don't have to use this painting. Again, the painting was kind of a disappointment because it was only at it was really thought out and they described it a ton and it was a huge part of the beginning of this, but had nothing to do with the adventure itself until the very end. So swapping out this painting with any other item, you have a really cool guild house that you can come back to over and over and over, whether or not you want it to be a friendly guild house that you become a member of and now you're like the Slayer's Take or something along those lines, or it's just another adventure where you have to sneak in and sneak out. It's a really well thought out, nice guild house, and that's always something that you should have in your back pocket because you never know. Might as well make your cities and adventures a little better. From a magic item perspective, obviously there's our painting. It has magical properties, it's attuned, and it's a sentient magic item, so it talks and has a good time there. But there's really nothing so fantastical about it, and it's very situational. You're not going to be running around with this magic painting. It's more for espionage and spying and listening in. So you'd hang it in a building, and then you can find out what's going on. So it could come in handy for the players, but again, situational. I mentioned that there is a necklace of prayer beads. There's also a necklace of fireballs and a couple other magical items that could be fun to give an opportunity to give to your player characters at around 5th level. It's a good time to give them prayer beads and fireballs and things along those lines. It adds a little spice, a little extra oomph to their powers that they don't have innately. Beyond that, this adventure, while tight and while fun, to me seems more useful outside of the game rather than the game itself. Great little one shot. It'd probably take you 2 sessions to get through this. My guess, on at least the speed that my players go with. There's a little more interactivity, a lot more cautiousness, looking around and discovering. You'll need to have your DM chops up a little bit because they don't give a ton of descriptions for every room because it's an empty kitchen or it's an empty hallway. If you are one of those DMs that like to describe rooms a lot, you're going to need to do a little bit of that to describe those rooms, maybe do some smells, some squeaking, some creaks in the building. There could always be, some thug that's, woken up in the middle of the night and needs to use the privy. So kind of throw those little vibes in there as well. Makes it a little nicer, a little easier, not easier. It'll make it a little nicer and a little more fleshed out. But all in all, this is it's a fun little adventure, but the uses could be so much more. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your comments on this. If you played this game, what's your interpretation of it? Am I way off? Are you thinking that I'm kind of an idiot? This is a really boring one? Or is this the greatest game you've ever played? Are you curious to even play this game? Does it sound fun? Is this something that you'd want to use in your own game? Whether or not it's just the guild house on its own or actually playing the adventure itself. I'd love to hear your comments and suggestions on this, on how you can make this more fun for other people to play games. And with that, that kind of wraps this one up. And I do appreciate the time that you spent if you made it this far. And have fun playing games. That's the point of all this. They're games. Enjoy them. Until next time.